Hey, welcome to an exclusive episode of the Groeschel Leadership Podcast. I'm kind of excited about this because most of you're probably the obsessive leaders, meaning like you took an extra step. And so I want to talk to you just like a little more freely and maybe a little more off the cuff. Now, if you did find your way here because someone told you about this or you're new, I would love to invite you to subscribe to wherever you're getting the content. And then also, like, it means the world just to hear from you. So when you can comment, if there's an insight that's helpful to you, we'd love to hear about it. If you have a question, we'd love to hear about it. And I'm super thankful for those of you that post on social media. If you tag me, our team will often repost you. And again, this is a heart ministry love for me. Like, we don't monetize this. There's the only win is you getting better. And so whenever you invite other people to be a part of the community, that helps bring more people in. So let's kind of open this thing up. And what I want to do is I want to give you the 5 types of questions that every leader should ask. I honestly believe that you can lead by questions. It can be one of the most strategic things that you do. And we do this with our staff often. At our last staff meeting, I kind of had 2 categories, and we're talking about kind of organizational curiosity, and we're talking about spiritual passion. And then underneath it, we had a list of questions and a list of questions. And the assignment is for every team member to go over these reflective questions together. And it's powerful when we slow down enough to be truthful. And there's a lot of times questions that we're not asking that we should be asking. And so I would say over a season of 3 years of leadership, you're going to want to be asking these types of questions. And I'll give you the types, and then we're going to talk about them. And then I'm going to give you some suggested questions, very specific under these types. So the 5 types of questions you're going to want to ask is like exploratory questions. You're going to want to know why things are working, why they're not, where things are going, what people are seeing. And so you're going to want to ask exploratory questions. We don't just accept what is always changes. And so we're curious organizationally and about our leaders, exploratory questions. Second thing, we're going to ask empowering questions. One of the best things you can do to empower your leaders is to ask them empowering questions. Then we're going to ask accountability questions. Super important. If you don't ask accountability questions, you're not going to get great results. We're going to ask culture questions. Your culture matters. Everything you do is born out of a culture, and healthy cultures never happen by accident. And then you're going to ask self-reflective questions. So we've got exploratory, empowering, accountability, culture, and then you're going to ask about yourself, self-reflection questions. So let's start with the first type, exploratory questions. And good news, bad news. Good news. At this very moment, you have massive untapped potential around you. You've got potential for new product, new ministry, new impact. You've got leaders around you that have potential in them that you haven't brought out. You've got hidden opportunities. That's the good news. Bad news is, at the same time, you've got big problems brewing right now. They're just not big yet. Big problems tend to start small, and there are little problems all around you, little cracks. And so what you want to do is you want to ask exploratory questions, and you're trying to uncover hidden opportunities, and you're also trying to uncover or recognize early unknown challenges or the challenges that are still small. And so let me give you the questions that you're going to ask. And at the Leader Guide, we have all of these there so you can have them for your reference. And please take them, steal them, use them, copy them, go over your team, change them, whatever you want. These are tools free for you to help your team get better. So you're going to want to ask a question something like this. Where are we seeing momentum, and what should we do about it? Really important. A lot of times there's some area, some department that's going really, really well, and you want to look for what I think Chip and Dan Heath, they call them the bright spots. Where do you see momentum, and what do you do about it? Years ago, we created what I think was the first church online. It wasn't just streaming, but it was an online community, and it was going okay. We saw some momentum, and I was meeting with a business leader, and he was like going, wait a minute, this doesn't cost much, this has high impact, and you're kind of just like letting it roll. Like, why aren't you throwing resources behind it? And I just looked at him and said, because we're dumb. I mean, like there was momentum there, and we just were letting it do what it had naturally done. And so chances are good you have some part of your organization where there's real momentum, and you're just letting go. Where do we see it, and what are we going to do about it? Next question is this. What are we tolerating now that could become a bigger problem later? What are we tolerating? What are we allowing now that could become a big problem later? And the truth of the matter is most big problems start small. And so as a leader, what you want to do is you want to see problems early and you want to solve them quickly. And if you're not asking the questions, you're not likely to discover the problems. And what happens is there'll be a little annoying something going on and you just kind of tolerate it. Now, if you ask a question like going, yeah, let's fix that now, and it kind of forces action. So what are we tolerating now that could become a big problem later? Another question is this. What's the biggest assumption we're making that might be wrong? Really important question. We all have assumptions in our leadership. We think the market's always going to do this. We think the trajectory is always going to be this way. Or we think because it worked 2 years ago, it's going to work in the future. And you have to test your assumptions over and over and over again. What's the biggest assumption we're making that might be wrong? Another question I like is this, exploratory question. If we had to start over today, what would we do differently? It's a really good question. If we had to start over today, what would we do differently? Because that takes you out of what is, and then it brings a level of objectivity to it. And then sometimes you realize, well, we wouldn't do that at all, or we would actually be doing this. And so it takes you above the day-to-day, and it gets you to think objectively, strategically. You're thinking higher. Another question you're going to ask is this. Where are we thinking too small? Where are we playing it too safe? And what would we attempt if we couldn't fail? Where are we thinking too small? Where are we playing it too safe? And what would we attempt if we couldn't fail? Here's the bottom line, especially those of you that are entrepreneurs. When you start, you've got a high tolerance for risk because you don't have anything to lose. What happens is the more you succeed, the more risk averse most of us become because now you got something to lose. And what I found is like I was one of the biggest risk takers early on, and then we have something like now I'm afraid to fail. And so you have to ask that question: where are we thinking too small? Where are we playing it too safe? And what would we attempt if we couldn't fail? I even ask, when's the last time you failed? Because if you haven't failed in a long time, you're not attempting anything. You have to fail to succeed. You fail forward. And so an example of this is our church created the YouVersion Bible app, and it was going great. Lots of momentum. And then 10 years into it or so, we just kind of put it on auto drive, and it continued to grow, continued to impact people. And then we ask ourselves, hey, where are we thinking too small? Where are we playing it too safe? And what could we attempt if we wouldn't fail? And we recognize that our church is like honored and called by God to steward the greatest Bible engagement tool in the history of the world. And so we were actually playing it safe. So Bobby Grunwald, he's the founder and the CEO. We talked and we met with some of the leaders and like going, let's go all in, man. Like we got one shot at this thing. If we're going to do anything, let's get the Bible as many places as we possibly can. And so we poured resources toward it and we stopped playing it safe. Well, if you can imagine, on the first Sunday of this year, we had a record in one day of 798,000 downloads in a single day. Record usage. And by probably November of this year, we're going to see the free YouVersion Bible app on 1 billion devices. 1 billion devices. Who gets to be a part of something that reaches 1 billion people? Well, nobody gets to do that if they're playing it safe. So in your own leadership, your organization, you're going to want to ask like, hey, where are we thinking too small? Where are we playing it too safe? And what will we attempt if we couldn't fail? Super important question. Another question you want to ask is this. What's something everyone is talking about but no one is saying? In most organizations, there's something. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's thinking about it, but no one's saying it. And if you see that, call it out. Have the courage to talk about it. So those are exploratory questions, and you do not want to coast. You don't want to accept what is. You want to, like I even call it like healthy skepticism. You're looking at what you have and you're like a little bit skeptical about it. Like, is this going to keep working? What do we need to change? And so you're asking exploratory questions. The second type of question you want to ask, you're going to ask empowering questions. You want to empower the people on your team. Why? Because the potential of your organization rests on the strength of its people. What matters? People, 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 people. What's most important? Strategy, culture, products, location, people? The answer is people, because people create strategy. People choose locations. People design products. People are the most important things. So what do? We develop our leaders. And if you want to develop leaders, you don't just give them answers, you ask them empowering questions. Again, we don't just want to tell people truth, we want to help them discover truth so they own it and they can seize it. So here's some questions that you're going to want to ask that are empowering questions. Ask a good team member or ask a group of people, hey, if I weren't here, how would you handle this? You would be surprised at how often they've got really good ideas. When you're there, they tend to do what they think you want them to do. They tend to do what's been done, but say, hey, if I weren't here, or if you were in charge, whatever, like another way of asking, how would you handle this? And you might get some real good wisdom from people, and you get them thinking like owners, not like followers. One of the biggest problems we have is people, they think like employees. We don't want people to think like employees. We want them to think like owners. Owners think at a different level. How valuable is someone? Well, it determines what they care about, what's on their mind. And so you want them to think like an owner. If you weren't here, how would you handle this? Another question you want to ask is this. You can ask your team members, hey, if you could make one change right now, what would it be? And you've got team members, they are thinking of solutions to problems that you don't even know exist. And so if you ask that question, hey, if you could make one change right now, what would it be? One is you're communicating that you believe in them, that you trust them, and you may be pulling out of them something that they've been hesitant to say before. Another question you could ask is this. What's one thing I could start or stop doing to help you grow as a leader? Really good question. You don't know sometimes where you're getting in the way or how you're holding somebody back. And so if you ask a team member, like, what could I start doing or stop doing to help you grow as a leader? So years ago, I asked my assistant some version of that, and she said, well, honestly, you could stop asking me to do something and then go do it yourself. And that happened years ago, and it may have happened recently. Just saying, because, it's a problem for me. And if you ask a question like that, you might find that there's ways you're holding the leaders back around you or you're limiting them. Another good question to ask in empowering your leaders is this, like, hey, what idea have you been hesitant to share and why? Or just what idea have you been hesitant to share and what is it? And they might have ideas and you're trying to pull that out of them. And then you're going to want to ask, hey, what's something bigger you're capable of doing that I haven't challenged you to do yet? Where's there more in you? And sometimes I'll even go, I ask, who knows they have way more in them? There's way more in them. In other words, you're not challenged in your job. You're here 40, 45 hours a week and you've got margin. And if people say it, they're like, so see, what could you do that we haven't asked you to do? And a lot of times they're just waiting to have permission to do something. Some people they're aggressive and they'll go seize it themselves. Other people, they need to be given permission. So you can just ask them, what's something bigger you're capable of doing that I haven't challenged you to do yet? Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to ask all of your leaders this question. Just ask everybody, hey, who on our team has untapped potential or underutilized strengths? And how can we help them grow? That's kind of related to the question before is who in our team that has more in them? And they're everywhere. They're all around you. If you're working with 10 people, there's probably 8 of them that literally are sitting around with more in them and just waiting for someone to either give them permission or to pull it out of them or to help them see something in themselves that they don't see. So you've got untapped potential all around you. So you're going to ask exploratory questions. You're not going to just assume things are going to stay the same. You're going to have organizational scrutiny and curiosity. You're going to ask empowering questions to bring out the best in people. Then you're going to ask culture questions because culture matters so much. Someone says, I think it was Blanchard, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Your culture, everything good flows out of a healthy culture. Bad things flow out of an unhealthy culture. And you never have a good culture accidentally. You have to be intentional about it. And what is your culture? I think someone else said this, but I quote it a lot. Your culture is a combination of what you create and what you allow. What you create and what you allow. So if you don't like your culture, change what you expect and change what you tolerate. You just have to say, this is what we do. This is what we value. Your values determine your culture. Tell them this is what we value. Reward it when you see it, correct it when you don't, and you're creating culture. So because culture matters so much, here's some questions you want to ask about culture. Ask this. What behaviors are we unintentionally allowing or rewarding? So We may allow people to come in late. We may allow people to be disrespectful. We may actually reward people for doing things that don't have a high return. And so what behaviors are we unintentionally allowing or rewarding? Another question kind of in that same vein is what unspoken rules or norms are holding us back? It might be we just have too many signatures on a thing, or we don't, we never do this, and that's just a dumb thing. Why do we never do it? Or we always do this. Well, why do we always do it? So what unspoken rules or norms are holding us back? Here's a really important question. What do we say we believe, but we're not living it out? Or what do we say that we value, but we're not living it out? Your core values is so important. They shouldn't just be on a wall. They should be burned on the hearts of the people. And you drive your values nonstop. One of the most important things you do, here's what we value. What you value determines what you do. What you value determines who you become. So you drive the values really, really deep. And I can remember years ago, I didn't even know what the value was, but when we started the church, I had 10 values, which is too many. And one of the values, we claimed it, but none of us were really practicing it. And so we removed it. And then several years in, we recognized, wait a minute, we've got a value, we have this real passion for generosity, and that wasn't on our value list. And so we cut one and we added one, and then we've tweaked them along the way. And so you want to look at, what do we say we believe, but we're not really living out? Super important. Another question is this, the final one on culture, is how have we outgrown or moved past any values, practices, or traditions that no longer serve our mission? These are kind of different versions of the same question, but how have we outgrown, moved past any values, practices, or traditions that no longer serve our mission? And I like values, I like practices, I like traditions. I like to bring these different words in because it helps us look in different categories. And if we're not living it out, if we don't value it, if it's not productive, if it's not helpful, change it. Don't just let what is shape who you become. I did an episode, in fact, I don't know the episode, but we'll link to it in the show notes, but I talked about unmaking promises. Early on, you're going to make some very definitive statements. We're always going to do this. We're never going to do this. And then you're going to get smarter. You're going to grow. And years later, you go, well, we said that then, but it's not really true. And so it's not that you break a promise, but you actually unmake it. You said, okay, for the last 8 years, we always said this, and we lived up to it. Now the world's changed, or our perspectives changed, so we're realizing that was a promise that we no longer want to keep. And so we are intentionally not breaking it, but we're unmaking it, and we're saying now we're going to do something different. Really important. Exploratory questions, empowering questions, culture questions, and let's talk about accountability questions. I want you to obsess about accountability questions. Why do we obsess about accountability? Because accountability closes the gap between good intentions and lasting results. Accountability closes the gap between good intentions and lasting results. So here's some accountability questions. Ask this: are our goals clear, measurable, and achievable within a defined time frame? Are our goals, do you have goals? You better have goals. Are our goals clear? Are they measurable? Can we say, yes, you actually hit that goal? Are they achievable? Are they dumb goals? Are they stupid goals? Can you actually get them done within a defined time frame? I like short-term goals when possible. I don't like 5-year goals. I don't even like 1-year goals a whole lot. I like 6-week goals, 10-week goals, 12-week goals. I like to push people for short bursts to move toward things. Positive momentum in anywhere tends to create multiplied compounding momentum elsewhere. And so are your goals clear, measurable, and achievable? I met with some leaders recently, and so I said, tell me about your goals, your plan. And one guy said, we want to grow this year. Okay, great. By how much? We want to grow. By how much? We can't measure it. By when? This year, next month, 6 months from now? What's your plan? And the plan was go into the community and tell people about the church. What are you talking about? We're going to wear our Life.Church shirts and go. So I said, I'm wearing a Life.Church shirt today. I'm going to go to get gas. Am I growing the church? You can't measure that. You got to tell me, by what percentage and what part, attendance or engagement or giving or serving, what are you going to grow? And so you got to be really, really specific, and you'll be shocked at how many times we have goals. A goal without a plan, it's a hope, it's a dream, it's not going to happen. And so that's a really important question. Then you want to ask this: who is responsible for what, and when will it be completed? I would suggest at the end of every meeting, you're asking some version of this. Okay, so we talked about whatever. Who is responsible for what and when will it be completed? End of every meeting. If you don't have an answer to that question, don't have the meeting. I mean, if all you're doing is communicating information, send an email. Every meeting the purpose should be deciding and creating action. We're making decisions, we're creating action. We're not just communicating information. You can do that on an email. So you get done with a meeting, all right, what did we decide? And who's going to get this done and when are they going to get it done by? And then next meeting, all right, who did it and did you get it done? And then the next question is obvious. What will we do when we hit our goals and what will we do if we don't? So we come back to the meeting and we hit it. So great, are we done? Do we create a new goal? We hit it. Do we celebrate? Do we not care? I mean, you got to have a strategy. We hit our goal. What do you do? I suggest you celebrate and you start another one. And then what will we do if we don't? Do we care? Do we acknowledge it? Does anyone get written up? Do we analyze why we didn't hit it? Does someone lose their job? Does someone move to another role? Do we have a difficult conversation? Do we recognize we were the part of the problem? What do you do when you hit it? And what do you do if you don't? You got to have a plan. Then, important question, ask yourself, are we holding ourselves to the same level of accountability that we expect from others? Boom. Okay. Are we holding ourselves to the same level of accountability that we expect from others? Here's what happens sometimes. Sometimes people get promoted to a level where they actually have very little accountability. Like they literally, they can kind of hide. They're just over things. And then they're like, hey, did you get this done? Did you get this done? And we're like going, did you get anything done? Meaning we want to hold you accountable for the results that come under you, not just you hold other people accountable for their results. And so, are we holding others to the same level of accountability that we're doing for ourselves? I mean, even like in the church world, sometimes we'll say, hey, everybody needs to serve on the church. And there may be a staff member not serving on the weekend in the church. And so we need to be really honest about that. And you say like, Craig, are you being mean? Accountability isn't cruel. It's not mean. It's clear and it's loving. And it is the strongest path to turning intentions into results. So if you don't ask those questions, people are going to float. And you'll go a whole year and you got the same opportunities you haven't seized and the same problems haunting you next year because you had plans but no accountability. So we're going to ask exploratory questions. We're going to ask empowering questions. We're going to ask culture questions. And we're going to ask accountability questions. Number 5, maybe the most difficult, we're going to ask self-reflection questions. Why? Strong leadership starts with self-awareness. And leaders who don't self-reflect will be limited by what they refuse to see in themselves. You don't know what you don't know about yourself. And we tend to have a good heart, good intentions, but a lot of times I'll come in and I'll do something and I'll have no idea how I just created all sorts of problems. I'll come in with opinions or I'll ask questions and people hear them as orders, or I won't know much about something. I'll get a little piece of information. I'll make conclusions that are overstating conclusions. And I'll come in and say, why this? And then boom, I just create a problem. So here's some questions you want to ask. First questions. It's a good one. What's it like to be on the other side of me? What's it like to be on the other side of me? If you can't objectively answer that, you might ask some people that you trust. And you want to brace yourself because we really don't know how we come across a lot of times. In the early seasons of the church, I thought I was really caring because I cared in my heart, but I didn't express it verbally or emotionally. And I cared, but I didn't show it. And so people thought I was just, kind of a driver that didn't care. I did, but I didn't show it. If you've never done a 360 review right now, I want to just invite you to consider, especially an anonymous 360. And that's where the people all around you will anonymously answer certain questions and review you. And so in my case, I would have peers, like other pastors. I would have maybe members from the board. I would have Amy. I might have a couple of my kids. I'd have my direct reports. I'd have people deeper in the organization. I'd have people all around me in different spheres answer questions, and then kind of you assimilate the information and you learn so much about yourself. And what I promise you is you're probably never going to like it, and you're always going to get better from it. If you want information on this, we'll actually link to some information, what we use and resources in the Leader Guide. And again, if you don't get the Leader Guide yet, go to Life.Church/leadership podcast. We'll send you the Leader Guide. Ask this question. Am I being led by feelings or facts? Good self-reflection question. A lot of times we are driven by emotions and we want to work to be objective. It's not that feelings don't matter; they do, but as leaders, we have to work to be objective in all that we do. Here's a good question: where are my impure motives hurting my leadership impact? Where are my impure motives hurting my leadership impact? And I would just say, don't lie to yourself, because we all can have self-centered and impure motives. Every single one of us. I want with all of my heart to honor God and always have pure motives, and I just don't, because my heart is flawed and is deceitful. And so you just kind of assume that you do have impure motives, and I want to be liked, I want to be respected, I want to be powerful, I want to be important, whatever it is. Ask that question, and that can be a real cleansing, helpful question. And then ask yourself this: what fear is holding me back? What fear is holding me back? I asked myself that question probably 15 years into the leading the organization. And what had happened is, in the early years, I had no fear because I had nothing to lose. And then when we had something, I recognized I was terrified of failure. And just as a person of faith, I remember hey, without faith, it's impossible to please God. And I was trying to lead without faith. And so what I tell myself now is I say, feel the fear and lead anyway. Feel the fear and lead anyway. So if I'm not a little nervous, then I'm playing it way too safe. And there may be those of you right now, you're playing it a little bit too safe. A few more questions. What's the single biggest change I could make for the greatest positive impact? What's the single biggest change I could make for the greatest positive impact? We had a couple of people on our team that weren't quite connecting in a assistant-boss relationship, and they added a wrap-up email at the end of the day. That one change, it impacted their whole department because the communication got better. You can make one little change, it can make a big difference. Ask this question: where am I unintentionally frustrating those around me? Where am I unintentionally frustrating those around me? Years ago, some team members said, "Hey, you're really slow on making decisions. You're holding things up." And I wasn't slow on making decisions. I was just slow on making their decisions. I'd make mine, but I wasn't prioritizing decisions that impacted the rest of the organization. And so you'll probably have something like that. If you'll listen, you can make a big difference. And then, really important question, big: what problem am I overlooking, ignoring, or excusing instead of facing, addressing, or changing? What problem am I overlooking, ignoring, or excusing instead of facing, addressing, or changing? Chances are there's something there. And if you don't know, ask the people around you, because a lot of times they know. There could be an employee that has a bad attitude or a bad mindset, and everybody knows it, and you're not dealing with them. And you kind of think they're a problem, and they are a problem, but if you don't deal with them, you become the problem. And the same is true in other things. If you overlook, you ignore, you hope it's going to get better, and you don't face it, address it, or change it, that little problem is going to become a big problem. Those are some questions that you want to ask, and we'll summarize it. The right questions don't just give you better answers, but they change the way you think, they change the way you live, they change the way you lead. And when you ask deeper questions, you uncover greater wisdom. And when you challenge assumptions, you unlock hidden potential. And when you listen well, you actually build trust with people. And when you hold yourself accountable, you turn good intentions into real impact. So I'll just ask you, just leader to leader, what kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of story do you want to tell? What difference do you want to make? Because in the end, your leadership isn't just defined by the answers that you give, but by the questions that you had the courage to ask. So be a student, be humble, dig in, ask deeper questions, listen, full contact, immersive listening where you care, you're engaged with the people, you're listening to what's being said, what's not being said, what's being implied, what's being ignored, what you see, what you don't see, and then you just question, you listen, you pray, you process, and then you lead with courage, with faith, with integrity, with purity of motives and purity of hearts to help people get better and move your mission forward. And you can often do it by questions, because the right question at the right time changes everything. Thanks for going a little deeper. Thanks for asking for this additional content. And that tells me something about you. You're hungry. Stay hungry. Stay faithful. Get better. We know that everyone wins when the leader gets better.